Greetings friends and fans of YouTube, it's good to see you all again. So a lot of you have commented on the previous video I posted about expanding my channel and have offered me advice on what I can do to make this channel grow and make it more a community that people can engage with. I have taken that on board and I'm pleased to say that I am in the process of getting an iRig for my iPad that will allow me to offer music videos with complete instrumentation. However, I do ask for a little bit of patience with this as I am not a drummer and have never used really drum software before. I will still continue to put music videos out, however I feel that for a while they may not contain complete instrumentation because I need to learn to use the drum software. And if anyone has any advice or tips on the basics of it, I would be extremely appreciative. At the advice of Matt the Riff Master, I'm going to do top 7 videos. These are videos that I feel will fall into the same sort of category as top 5s and top 10s without being a top 5 or a top 10. I'm going to use these videos as a way to sort of express the kind of things that I listen to as a musician. And I mean, I'm going to say it now, I'm a very eclectic musician. I don't just strictly listen to rock and metal. And I feel that these top 7 videos will be a way to allow me to branch out my musicality, but also an open terms of discussion in terms of things that I could potentially listen to later on, or if you guys even wanted me to, I could do a reaction video. Again, these are things that I've been considering. I am starting to compile a list together of the top 7 videos that I want to put out, and I'm hoping that these will become a weekly kind of thing. And if they do well, I'll continue to do them. If they don't, I will go back to the drawing board and look at something else. But what I want to talk about today is some of the gear that I use as a musician that I feel gives my music the strength that it has. And that is the strings and picks that I use. It is important for any guitarist to use the correct gear on their guitar in the sense of strings and picks. The wrong strings, they'll snap a lot, or things that you'll be playing won't be quite as resonant as you'd like, and the wrong pick, it can seriously affect the way that things sound. So the strings that I use are Ernie Ball skinny top heavy bottoms. Now, I got introduced to these in college when I was studying for a diploma in popular music, and I have always been a rhythm player. I've never really dabbled too much with lead. I have played the occasional solo, but I've never gone full on into learning full arpeggios and writing blistering face melting solos. It's just not the kind of thing I enjoy doing. I enjoy writing a good solid chunky riff. I started learning guitar at 14 and the strings I was using back then were Ernie Ball Super Slinkies, which are 946. These are 1052 and I feel they're a lot better for people who play rhythm. Primarily out of the fact that they're a little bit thicker and the top E is substantially thicker than the Slinky set and is really good for people who play power chords because it's got that thickness, it's got that heaviness when it resonates, and they are for me the go-to strings. A lot of people have said, well, what about D'Addario or Elixir? Elixir, I feel, are extremely good for acoustic musicians, as the acoustic strings are really, really good and long-lasting, and D'Addario, for me, are a little bit expensive. These are reasonably priced. I mean, I live in the UK, where they're $7.99 a set, and they've been my go-to string since I was 16. And for me, as someone who plays music that drops to at least drop C, and obviously with a 7-string lower, these are extremely good for playing drop-tuned music because they're thicker. And I would advise anyone who plays at least maybe drop D and lower to try these out. If you're going to go lower than drop C, I would advise the Ernie Ball not even Slinkies, which are even thicker than these. A friend of mine had a set of those on his Schecter in college, and he had to actually file the nut because of how thick the E string was. So the second thing I want to talk about today is picks. Now, again, going back to my studies in college, before college I used picks that varied in thickness. I think the lowest one I used was a 0.4, and the heaviest at the time was a 0.8. And I found that while they were good for what I was learning, I found they didn't have the same sort of attack that I do now. At the age of 16, when I was in college, I was a big fan of Steve Vai and Joe Satriani. I still am. And at the time, when I was doing the big fanboying, I bought some of Steve Vai's signature picks, which are made by Ibanez. And I noticed the thickness of them. I believe they are either a millimeter or 1.2 millimeters thick. And the way I approached playing was changed completely. Because I found that they were really good for chugging, because they didn't have the same sort of flexibility as a lower standard pick, and allowed me to really increase the technique that I was building on in college, in terms of playing palm muted chords and triplets and all the additional things that I've incorporated into my playing, like string skipping. So, wanting to shy away from sort of using signature gear, I started using these. These are Jim Dunlop Tortex picks, and these are a millimeter thick. As you can see, they're perfectly curved and extremely sharp when first purchased. And these have been my go-to picks since I was 16 years old, since I finished college. I mean, I'm 23 this year, so it's an understandably long time, and these have always been my go-tos. Mainly out of the fact they're not very flexible. They do have some flex, but not as much as lower density picks. And I found that I get a very unique attack out of them. When you play a chord, you can really feel the chord as you hit it. And these have always allowed for very easy string skipping and triplets because of the thickness. Because they're thicker, they don't bounce as much, which means that you have to put a little bit more in as the musician, which I feel has improved my technique. Now, I'm not saying to anyone, oh, you must use these or you must use that. This is something that I'm opening up for discussion. But I feel, for me personally, they are the best combination of things I can use to produce the music that I do. The skinny top, heavy bottom strings are also incredibly good for playing the cleaner, tappier stuff, because the lower end is a little more bassy. It saves me having to use a lower end guitar or an actual bass. So I want to know in the comments, guys, what do you guys use to create your unique sounds? What sort of strings do you use and picks do you use, and what sort of approaches do you have to your playing? I thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.